ലോകമേ തറവാട് തനിക്ക് ചെടികളും
Namaskaram. Welcome to all the viewers. My name is Ramdas Vallathol, a nephew of Mahakavi Vallathol Narayana Menon. As soon as the lockdown took place, we initiated this Vallathol Memorial Web Series. And over the past many months, we have conducted many episodes, like on Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, and then patriotism, and then Vallathol and Mahatma Gandhi, their similarity. Then on Ayurveda, and on International Unity Day, we conducted a webinar involving Malika Sarabhai, a French dancer and Ukraine dancer, Dance for Unity. And then now, as we know, the Kerala Kalamandalam is celebrating the 90th year. So we thought of initiating a sub-series under the Vallathol Memorial Series. The idea was to get the opinion and suggestions from legendary artists who have got huge experience and knowledge, and hopefully these suggestions will be useful to the students, the administrators, and the decision makers of Kerala Kalamandalam. So today's episode is a continuation of that sub-series, Prescription for an Even Better Kalamandalam. This is the fourth episode in the series. In the past, we had three eminent, legendary artists, and today we have another erudite, scholarly exponent of Mohiniyattam. Welcome once again, Smitaji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is an honor to be in this platform and to be with the Vallathol family.
Yeah, we are honored by your presence. And I will just formally introduce Smitaji. There is a lot to talk about Smitaji. It will take a lot of time. So for want of time, I will just touch on the important points. She is a legendary granddaughter of Kalamandalam Krishan Nair, the Kathakali icon. When I say Kalamandalam Krishan Nair, I think he is only third in the importance after Mahakavi Vallathol, Mukundaraja. Then the name that comes to mind about Kerala Kalamandalam is, I think, definitely Kalamandalam Krishan Nair. And the grandmother was equal an iconic Mohiniyattam dancer, Kalamandalam Kalyani Kuttiyamma. And then her mother is also equally renowned, Sridevi Rajan. Okay. Then our aunt Kala Vijaya. So to be born into a family like this, it's only natural that she will become a great performing artist. It was probably preordained and destined for her to become a dancer. Even then, it is incredible that she had the Arangetam, the formal first stage performance at the tender age of 4 in Bharatanatyam, to be soon followed by Arangetam in Mohiniyattam at the age of 6. So it's incredible. So to tell us more about Smitaji, we have our anchor here, Shruti Madhusudanan. She is a great granddaughter of Mahakavi Vallathol, my cousin, and she has got some very interesting questions for Smitaji. Smitaji is joining us from US, and Shruti is joining us from Hyderabad. So without much ado, I will hand over to Shruti to take this episode forward. Shruti, it's all yours. Please take over.
Thank you, Ramu Mama. I'm honored to be part of this webinar of Vallathol Memorial Series. It is a great pleasure and honor to welcome Srimati Smita Rajan to this program. Namaskaram, ma'am.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
We are all eager to hear from you on various aspects of Mohiniyattam. You come from a family of well-known artists and performers with grandparents as world-renowned artists. Can you share some of your experiences and nostalgic memories of those years and how it helped it in your journey ahead as guru and performer?
Indeed, being the granddaughter of such a legendary grandparents is definitely one of the greatest blessings I have in my life. And living with the same profession, which they were into, that has in me a great responsibility also. So when I was a child, I never knew what I was learning. I learned dance and music, same like I learned my mother tongue. So it was a very natural learning. So, and as I grew older, as my grandparents and my aunt and my mom realized the natural instinct I had towards this art form, and they started taking it very seriously on me and started teaching me. And again, I never knew that it was something different, a language like this, a cultural tradition that I'm learning. And I knew and I learned, for me, learning, teaching and choreographing, everything was part of my growing. So my grandparents and my aunt and everybody, they used to give me small classes. They used to give me the responsibility of small classes, and they used to give me small pieces to choreograph. So like that, teaching and choreographing also became a part of my learning. And later, I also started traveling with them throughout Kerala, throughout India, and to different parts of the world, along with their journey, with their commitment towards this art form. So as I grew up, I started observing, I watched their commitment, their dedication, their discipline. All these things were great learning for me. And now I am carrying that, continuing that tradition which they gave me. And always I have seen, there is a standard, there is an expectation which people expect from me. The same way I had also become a proxy. I had also become a target when people cannot face my grandparents themselves. They will face, they will turn on to me. So all the pros and cons I have felt during my life, being a grandchild of such great personalities. And knowing from them, learning from them, and carrying the same tradition, it's been a big responsibility on me.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your memories. I'm sure you might have cherished every moment.
Yeah, if I can talk about it, I can talk along, talk more about my experiences. But I think that is the snapshot I can give you.
Gurukula system is an integral part of imparting education in classical dance or any other art forms since ancient ages. With the changing cultural renaissance in modern times, how can we make changes in the syllabus of Kerala Kalamandalam of art forms like Mohiniyattam without compromising the good aspects of Gurukula system?
Gurukula system is definitely a tradition which existed in Bharatam for millenniums. And right now, the standardized education which we are having for last few centuries is overpowering that Gurukula system of education. And many times I have seen people looking down upon the Gurukula system of education. In a standardized system of education, we can see a standardized pattern of bringing out products from an institution. When compared to a Gurukula system of education, there a guru and a shishya has more connection. The guru comes to know the shishya or know the student more, know his pros and cons, his weaknesses and his abilities, and he can customize a teaching for a student. So what happens in the end, you are bringing out a great talent out of such an education. But here in standardized education, which we cannot help, it is a standardized way of teaching, and you are bringing out copycats. I should say a printout models. That's what you are producing until or unless because the student understands and student know how to, take the opportunity learning from a teacher. If the student doesn't have the proper understanding of what she's doing and what she needs to learn in that short span of 3 years or 4 years, in the standardized system of education, it is very difficult to bring in a good product, a good talent out of it. So what I would suggest is Kalamandalam, Kerala Kalamandalam, an institution like that should have a introspection of what is happening to them. A self-analysis is required, and think about the initial vision which Mahakavi Vallathol had while establishing Kalamandalam. He wanted to he wanted to revive the dying art forms of Kerala, and also he wanted to build in great talents. So that's what his vision. But now looking at Kalamandalam, we don't know how many great products or great results we are bringing out by the end of a particular education for a BA or an MA, things like that. So, first we have to think about a good leader. We can definitely have a good leader to lead the or to redo the system of education in Kerala Kalamandalam, and taking the good part of both the Gurukula system and also the standardized system. We can try to mix and match the best out of both, and then try to develop a curriculum. I think that is the most which is required from a Kalamandalam institution like that. And Mohiniyattam also, knowing Mohiniyattam or Kathakali or any other classical art forms, Kerala classical art forms, that's need to be rewritten. The syllabus need to be rewritten, and that's what I think need to be done under a good leadership.
That's a great suggestion, ma'am. I'm sure this hybrid model will turn out to be a game changer.
I hope so. And yeah, Kerala Kalamandalam and in institution like Kerala Kalamandalam, this had been a model to Kalakshetra itself. For when Rukmini Arundale started Kalakshetra, for her, Kalamandalam was one of the biggest model. And so I think in those days, Kalamandalam had such a ecosystem to build in a talent. And from what I remember from my grandparents, what the stories which I had heard from them, even though it is a short period of span they are there, the intensity of the education, the teacher and the student relationship and the interactions they had. He was trying to bring back that old Gurukula system of education in Kalamandalam. But now I don't think that such an ecosystem is there in Kalamandalam. I think, if there is a good panel of responsible parties are there, they can sit and rework on, these things, look back into the earlier vision, the first vision which Mahakavi had, and then try to work on the syllabus or the teaching method.
Different artists have different opinions when it comes to commercialization of classical art forms like Mohiniyattam, Kathakali, etc. So how can we strike the right balance between commercialization and retaining cultural integrity of art forms?
Commercialization of a classical tradition has always been a challenge. I think an artist needs to know how to monetize his art form, his dance form, the art which he's having. Because he's also a living person. He has to have an earning. He has to have a financial support to build up his or to sustain his artistic career. I think one of the biggest example of a person, of an artist who monetized his art form is my grandfather, Guru Kalamandalam Krishnan Nair. He knew how to demand respect, demand money. And of course, we can say that was a time when this Kathakali had a wide viewership and wide demand in those days in Kerala and in India. And of course, worldwide. Same way, if an artist don't know don't know how to monetize his art form, it is very difficult. He need to have a patron, or he need to have a financial support, or he need to have a financial platform to build up on his art form. And I recently, a few years back, I remember one of the very, very successful lady once calling me and asking me, she was asking why I'm charging for what I'm charging for my dance classes. So there is a perception that art is cheap. Art can be received cheaply, and the parents, some of the parents think they don't, without realizing the real benefit of learning an art form. It's just a extracurricular art form for a parent when a student is learning. So for them, it doesn't make sense, for paying for an art form to learn a classical dance form. So what I'm saying is, we need to, if an institution like Kerala Kalamandalam, if you produce a quality product, and that product has to be in such a position that it has a good market value. So if that market value is there, for example, if you think about an engineering student coming out of an IIT, he has a good market value, and there is no problem for getting a job out of what he has learned. But in classical tradition, it is very difficult until or unless if the student or the practitioner try to bring in quality to his art form. So I think artists and art need support, and it need for the living, for the artists, for living also, people need, artists need money, finance, and monetization is a big part. Same way as any other field, art curriculum, cultural art forms also require finance. And it need to be commercial. It will be a big support for the art to grow also.
We all respect your views, ma'am. I'm sure most of us will agree to that point, what you said. A huge responsibility of bringing in changes lies to younger generation, or Gen Y and Gen Z, as we call, with the limited exposure to cultural ethos. How can we build cultural interest in them?
I think a student first need to know who they are. They need to have a self-realization. They should not have an inferiority complex. Always we have seen our generation and the next generation children having an inferiority complex, and they look upon the Western culture and that they think that is the norm. But they never, the generation, few generations, my generation and the previous generation, I think the coming generation also, they have learned what we are, what our history was. We have never learned what is Magadha, the Takshashila or Nalanda or the Chandragupta dynasty. We had always learned the successor, the invaders coming into India and beating upon our people and our land. That's what we had learned. The history, that's what we have learned. So we don't really have an understanding of who we are. And any classical dancer or a classical tradition, any person who carry that, if he understands who we are, it's very difficult to go out from our tradition. That knowing of our history, knowing our the value of ourself is a great requirement a student should have, or a practitioner should have, to keep going with the tradition. For example, in Kerala Kalamandalam itself, the students in Kerala Kalamandalam need to know the history or need to know the personalities who Mahakavi Vallathol and such great personalities who came, who were in Kalamandalam, who, the overall history, if they don't understand, they don't learn. I don't think it is possible for anybody to do justice to our tradition.
I'm sure that's a great message to the younger generation, and a lot of them will be viewing this program. Ma'am, coming to the last question, I hope you have time to answer one last question.
Definitely.
We are living in the digital age. The easiest way to reach out to every individual is through digital means like social media, smartphones, etc. And many artists have taken their performances online. So how can we increase the digital footprint of Kerala Kalamandalam?
Yep, as you can imagine, the everything which we believed had been shattered. New opportunities had arisen. People from different parts of the world are able to connect, and so I think we should make use of the opportunity. Even the big universities, there had been questions rising, why should we pay a big, huge tuition fee? Because the students who are going to big universities, they are learning sitting in their home. So, even the university classes are also being conducted at, online, and students are inside the house. And I think Kerala Kalamandalam should also come up with a curriculum which students should be able to take from anywhere, any part of the world. So if we can make use of this great opportunity, and everybody is online, right? Every dance forms, you name it, school, small kids, school education, to the serious studies, to dance forms, learning art forms. In a few decades back, I remember some of the teachers saying that, I won't teach dance through online. But now look at the condition. We are forced to take lessons online, and that had, in my view, that had really opened up opportunities for distant students. I have my students. I had been teaching dance in India while I was in India. My students, my old students, they had approached me, and that really opened up a new opportunity. So I think Kerala Kalamandalam is also should make use of this opportunity and come up with an open curriculums, which many students, many such students can make use of it.
That's true, ma'am. We all know how powerful smartphones can be.
Yeah, there are limitations. For example, we talked about the guru and shishya connection and everything. All those things are very difficult, but that is a challenge of this particular period. And we need to try it out and see how we can make use of such a medium. Yeah.
Because today we have around 3 billion smartphone users and 3.6 billion using social media.
Yeah, the opportunity is open for everybody. There were some norms that only such people should do certain things, that everything is wiped off and everything is being shattered. So now the opportunity is open for everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, Smita ma'am, for being part of today's program.
I think, let me tell you this, as a student, I would like to talk to not only to the students of Kerala Kalamandalam, to any art learning student. What I would say is make use of your time. Make use of the time you are spending with your teacher, with the limited time span which you in standardized education our students are having. They are spending like 3 or 4 years with a teacher, and even the teachers are also diluted. The teacher is also not able to spend that much time with a student when compared to the old Gurukula system of education. So the student's responsibility is is to understand the opportunity and make use of the time limit the best possible way. Need to know why she's doing that, knowing the purpose, understanding the purpose, and making use of the opportunity. And the next thing is she need to understand our history, who we are, and to knowing the history will be a very good mean that, way that he can best use of his what he's doing, and keep going with the tradition in the right way. And another thing is always, even though you have a name title Kalamandalam, the student can try to get a proper mentor who can be a good guide, who will be who can he can embrace you, he can inspire you, and he will be able to guide you in the proper way, in proper, totally unbiased way of encouraging and developing you. So having a mentor is also a student need to have that. And try not to go into any negative side of the learning part. Try to use the opportunities in a very positive way. And I think that is also very required for the students and upcoming dancers or any art learning student.
Thank you, ma'am, for telling these points as an advice to the student, including me.
Definitely, yeah.
So it was, as you rightly pointed out, many points like self-realization, and the syllabus should be rewritten with good leadership, and monotism, self-realization, and the students should know the history, etc. We shall definitely take up these with the respective stakeholders and try to incorporate your valuable suggestions. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
I hope Kerala Kalamandalam will be able to bring back that old, serenity. It used to have a serene temple-like atmosphere in the olden days. In my memory, from what I have heard from my grandparents, it was a temple. And of course, the students who are coming out of such a temple will always will have a great reverence, from where they came, about their institution and about the gurus. The same way, the students also has a responsibility to, and both the student and the teachers. And I hope Kerala Kalamandalam will be, will grow as an iconic institution in the future. And thanks for taking me into this Vallathol family. I have great memories. I had visited, Vallathol family, Vasanthi Valliyamma. My grandmother, Kalyani Kutiyamma, when I visited Vasanthi Valliyamma's house, that's how Mama asked me to call her. And from that time, I had always felt that close connection at my heart. And I have, from the stories, of course, both my grandparents, their stories, I'm hearing the stories. Even though I had never been into or studied in Kerala Kalamandalam, I always feel I am a part of Kerala Kalamandalam.
So you finished the questions?
And the Vallathol family. I'm sorry?
No, I'm asking Sudhi.
Now I request my uncle Rama Mama to say the parting words.
You completed the questions, Sudhi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Rama.
Okay. So I think we will conclude the webinar with a few words of thanks to you, Smitaji. On behalf of the family, as you rightly said, we consider you as a part of the family, Vallathol family. So we really need not thank you in one sense, but it's my duty to convey the thanks to the whole Vallathol family to you for joining in this webinar and gracing this webinar with this presence and participation. You have given many valuable points, pearls of wisdom. It all remains to be seen how the stakeholders will make use of it. like you rightly said, making use of the time, because the time is running, flying. Every hour they spend in the Kerala Kalamandalam, there to make it productive. Because at the end of 4 or 5 years, they have to come out to the cruel, wild world and earn a living for themselves.
Exactly.
So these 5, 6 years, whatever number of years they are spending there, they need to. One question I would like to pose from my side: the ability to explain things, the language skills. Like with any other field, students coming out of. I was in Dubai for 30 years. I've seen job seekers coming out of Kerala. Their main problem is the inability to communicate, articulate properly. This is one of the things I have seen
Exactly.
with Westerners. They may have only 25% of our knowledge, but they know how to present it so beautifully, sugarcoating in a beautiful way. They present their thoughts and knowledge. So coming back to Kerala Kalamandalam, see, in my case, I used to listen to BBC. When I was in the school and college, it was more radio. There was no TV at that time. So whenever I come back home, I will switch on the BBC World Service just for the language and also the subject. I used to read Time Magazine, Newsweek. This is students should take the initiative.
Exactly.
Exactly said during the curriculum, the teacher will forcibly dig out the strong point.
Best out of a student.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't it? Now there is
That is very customized. If in a Gurukula system, that was a very customized learning for a student. The teacher knows the student, the weak points, the plus points, and then he really can customize the education, the syllabus for the student. And as I have told earlier, knowing the history and knowing what is happening currently is also very much required for an art student. What is happening in the society, what is happening in our social structure. If knowing all these things will definitely help a student to articulate of what he's doing, what he's up to. All these things will definitely help him to communicate. And what I remember from my grandparents in Kerala Kalamandalam in those days, they were taught history, English, and all these things. English was also a subject there, and with other languages. So an art student definitely need to learn the language. He need to travel around. He need to travel across the world and should be able to communicate and, as you said, articulate what he is up to. And that is the comprehensive skill is very much required.
My point is,
for an artist,
learning English doesn't guarantee the ability to speak fluently. We know students from Kerala, they may be a PhD in English, but they may not be able to speak two sentences properly because they don't get the practice or the opportunity to speak. So this is where clubs like Toastmasters, I've gained a lot from Toastmasters. You know, Toastmasters, have you heard about Toastmasters? It's very popular in US. Toastmasters is like
yes.
Rotary, Lion.
Yes.
Toastmasters specifically trains their members in public speaking, the ability to talk in front of a group of people. This is what they're training. So
that's a very good point. Yeah, we can develop a public speaking skill also to the students, performing students. Yes.
Because once they come out of the Kerala Kalamandalam, they need to create a name for themselves. For that, they need to be able to speak fluently in both Malayalam and English. English is the lingua franca now. So
those who have in their inborn talent to speak, only other people are able to communicate right now. So that is a very good thing. In Kalamandalam also we can bring in such a subject, public speaking.
Actually, I was planning to
based on the artistic field they are into.
Yeah, I was planning to meet the Vice Chancellor to check whether there is any opportunity to open a chapter of Toastmasters in Kerala Kalamandalam, which will help them to develop.
That's true. It's very good. It's really required. Yeah. Yeah, you may know the language, you may know what you're doing, but definitely a speaking course will definitely help them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, then once again, by thanking you, once again, we will conclude this webinar. We hope our paths will cross again somewhere, sometime. And we request you to continue to take extreme care. And let's hope this crisis will be behind us very soon. Okay.
Yeah, 2020 has opened up lots of opportunity, and also this particular idea also came up, and I'm able to meet you people. I'm truly thanking you for that, for making me also a part of this one. Thank you, sir.
And I thank Shruti also. It is her first debut anchoring. She has done a wonderful job. And that too with a legend like Smitaji. Okay. Thank you, Shruti, for
Thank you.
agreeing to anchor this.
Stay safe.